Black Maid rescued a dying girl and fed her every day. One day, Billionaire came looking for her. The rain fell in sheets across the darkened streets of Chicago, turning the sidewalks into rivers of reflected neon light. Maya Johnson pulled her worn coat tighter around her shoulders as she hurried home from her evening shift at the Reynolds Hotel. At 28, her life had been a series of survival strategies, working double shifts, living in a cramped studio apartment, and sending whatever she could spare back to her ailing mother in Mississippi. The bus route home took her through Riverside Park, a shortcut she usually avoided after dark. But tonight, exhausted to her bones and drenched from the rain, she decided to risk it. The park was empty, the playground equipment creating eerie shadows in the dim streetlights. Maya was halfway through when she heard it, a sound that made her blood run cold. A baby's cry, weak, desperate, barely audible over the drumming rain. Maya's head whipped around, her heart hammering. There, near a wooden bench partially hidden by overgrown bushes, she saw movement. She ran, her tired legs suddenly filled with adrenaline, and what she found would forever change the course of her life. A baby girl, no more than 9 or 10 months old, sat on the wet ground. Her clothes were filthy, torn in places, and her tiny face was streaked with mud and tears. The child's arms reached upward in that universal gesture of need, her mouth open in a silent sob, as if she'd been crying so long she had no voice left. "Oh my God," Maya breathed, dropping to her knees without thinking about the mud soaking through her uniform. She scooped the baby into her arms, feeling the small body shaking with cold. Baby, it's okay. I've got you. I've got you now." The moment Maya lifted her, the infant's cries intensified, but there was something different about them now. It was as if the child was trying to tell her story through those sobs, a tale of abandonment, fear, and desperate longing. The baby's tiny hands clutched at Maya's coat with surprising strength, her face burrowing into Maya's neck, as if she'd finally found safety after an endless nightmare. Maya looked around frantically. The park was deserted. No frantic parent searching. No one at all. The baby's condition suggested she'd been there for hours, maybe longer. Her lips had a bluish tinge, her skin was cold, and she was shivering uncontrollably. Who would do this? Maya whispered, fury and heartbreak warring in her chest. Who would leave you here, sweet girl? She knew she should call the police, should report this immediately. But something in her heart, some instinct she couldn't name, made her hesitate. She thought of the foster system, of the stories she'd heard about children lost in bureaucracy, about the scars that never healed. And in that moment, holding this abandoned child, Maya made a decision that defied logic, but felt absolutely right. "Let's get you home," she murmured, wrapping her coat around them both. "Let's get you warm and fed. Then we'll figure out what to do." The baby quieted slightly, as if understanding that she was finally safe. Maya hurried through the rain, the precious bundle held tight against her chest, her mind already racing through what she had at home. Formula? No. She'd have to use warm milk. Diapers? She'd make do with clean cloths. Clothes? She had some old t-shirts that could work temporarily. By the time Maya reached her apartment building, her arms ached and her heart ached even more. She climbed the 3 flights of stairs to her studio, fumbling with her keys while trying not to jostle the baby. Inside her small space, barely large enough for a single bed, a kitchenette, and a small bathroom, she finally got a good look at the child in the light. The baby girl had the most extraordinary eyes, even swollen from crying. They were a striking hazel green, almost luminous, framed by long, dark lashes. Despite the grime and distress, Maya could see she was a beautiful child. Her skin, once cleaned, would be the color of warm honey. Her hair, though matted and dirty, showed hints of soft brown curls. "Let's get you cleaned up, sweetheart," Maya said softly, running warm water in her small sink. The bath was a delicate operation. The baby cried when Maya first lowered her into the water, but as the warmth seeped in her cold little body, she began to calm. Maya washed away the mud, the leaves, the evidence of abandonment, her tears falling silently into the bathwater as she worked. Who could abandon such a precious life? What kind of monster could leave a baby alone in a park at night? After the bath, Maya dried the baby gently and dressed her in a soft t-shirt she'd carefully cut and tied to fit the small body. She warmed some milk, testing it on her wrist like she'd seen mothers do, and offered it in a clean cup, helping the baby drink slowly. The child's eyes never left Maya's face as she drank, and Maya found herself talking softly, reassuringly. "You're safe now. I don't know where you came from, baby girl, or what happened to you, but you're safe with me. I promise you that." Section 2. 3 months of hidden love. The next morning, Maya woke to find the baby girl sleeping peacefully beside her on the narrow bed, her tiny hand curled around Maya's finger. In the gray morning light, the reality of what she'd done hit her fully. She'd taken a child, found a child, and brought her home without reporting it. This was serious. This was illegal, possibly. But looking at that peaceful little face, Maya couldn't bring herself to regret it. She named her Hope. It seemed fitting. Over the next 3 months, Maya's life transformed completely. She called in sick to work that first week, using precious vacation days she'd been saving, claiming the flu. She needed time to figure things out, to establish a routine with Hope, and most importantly, to dig up some answers. During Hope's nap times, Maya became an amateur detective. She scoured news reports, missing persons databases, social media posts, anything that might tell her about missing baby. What she found, 2 weeks in her search, made her stomach turn. Alexander Hunt, billionaire, entrepreneur. His 9-month-old daughter, Sophia, had disappeared 3 months ago from a charity gala at the Peninsula Hotel. The child had been in the care of a trusted nanny who claimed someone had drugged her drink. When she woke, the baby was gone. The case had dominated headlines for weeks before fading from public consciousness, as even tragedies do when no new developments emerge. Maya stared at the photo of Sophia Hunt. Those same luminous hazel green eyes stared back at her. The resemblance to Hope was unmistakable. She should have called immediately, should have returned the child. But Maya found herself going down another rabbit hole of information, and what she discovered chilled her to the bone. Buried in business journals and court documents, she found stories about Alexander Hunt's business partner, Marcus Webb, stories of rivalry, of disputed patents, of a man who'd been gradually pushed out of Hunt Technologies' leadership. The official story was that Marcus had retired peacefully, but Maya saw comments on obscure forums, whispers from former employees who suggested something darker. Marcus Webb had become obsessed with destroying Alexander Hunt. And what better way to destroy a man than to take what he loved most? Maya read account after account of Alexander Hunt's deterioration after his daughter's disappearance. His wife had died during childbirth, making Sophia his only family. The man was reportedly a ghost of himself, still searching, still hoping, but visibly breaking under the weight of his loss. Every day, Maya told herself she would call. Every day, she found a reason to wait. She needed more proof. She needed to be certain. She needed to know Hope would be safe. But the truth was simpler and more complicated. She was falling in love with this child. Hope was thriving. From that cold, terrified baby Maya had found, she'd blossomed into a joyful, curious little girl. She'd learned to pull herself up on furniture, to clap her hands, to laugh. Oh, that laugh could light up Maya's tiny apartment like sunshine breaking through clouds. She called Maya Mama now, and every time she did, it broke and healed Maya's heart simultaneously. Maya's savings dwindled rapidly. Baby supplies weren't cheap, even shopping at thrift stores and discount marts. She picked up extra cleaning shifts at the hotel, working nights after Hope fell asleep, bribing her elderly neighbor, Mrs. Chun, to listen for the baby with the promise of weekly groceries. "That's a beautiful child," Mrs. Chun said one evening, her wise old eyes studying Maya carefully. "She's very lucky you found her." Maya's heart jumped. "Found? I'm old, not blind," Mrs. Chun said gently. "That baby didn't come from your belly, but she came to your heart." "Yes, sometimes that's the same thing." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "I'm going to give her back," she whispered. I needed to make sure she was okay first. To make sure she's really loved where she's going back to." Mrs. Chun patted her hand. "Love always finds the right path, child. You'll know when it's time." The truth was, Maya had been preparing. She'd been building a file of information, documenting Hope's growth, taking photos, keeping receipts. She'd been researching Alexander Hunt, not just as a billionaire, but as a father. What she found surprised her. Before his daughter's disappearance, Alexander Hunt had been known as a different kind of billionaire. He'd started Hunt Technologies from nothing, building it into a multi-billion-dollar enterprise focused on sustainable energy solutions. But unlike many in his position, he was known for his kindness, his ethical business practices, his generous philanthropy. Employees spoke of him with genuine affection. He'd been photographed countless times with baby Sophia, looking at her with such pure love, it was visible even through newsprint. After Sophia's disappearance, that kindness had turned inward, becoming a sort of quiet desperation. He'd poured millions into the search, hired the best investigators, appeared on every news program that would have him. But as months passed with no leads, the light in his eyes had dimmed in each successive photo. Maya found herself drawn to his story, to his pain. She understood loss. She'd lost her father young, had watched her mother's health decline without the money to provide proper care. She understood what it meant to love someone with your whole heart and to feel powerless to help them. One evening, Maya sat with Hope on her lap, the baby playing with a second-hand toy that Maya had carefully cleaned and sanitized. Hope looked up at her and smiled, and Maya's decision crystallized. "Your daddy is out there, sweet girl," she whispered, "and he misses you so much. He never stopped looking for you, never stopped loving you." Hope grabbed Maya's face with both hands, her expression serious, as if she understood the weight of the moment. "I know," Maya said, tears streaming down her face. "I love you too. That's why I have to do this. That's why I have to take you home." 3 months earlier, on the night his world ended, Alexander Hunt had been standing in the Peninsula Hotel's ballroom, surrounded by Chicago's elite at a charity gala. At 36, he'd achieved more than most men dream of in a lifetime. But as he told anyone who asked, none of it mattered as much as the 9-month-old daughter sleeping peacefully in a private room upstairs with her nanny. Sophia, his miracle, his reason for breathing after her mother, Elena, had died bringing her into the world. He'd stepped out of the ballroom for just 20 minutes to take an important call from Tokyo. 20 minutes that had stretched and stretched while he negotiated a deal that would bring sustainable power solutions to remote Asian villages. 20 minutes during which his entire life had been stolen. The scream had echoed through the hotel corridor. Alexander had run, his heart knowing before his mind did. The private room's door was open. The nanny, Claire, was on the floor convulsing, and the crib was empty. The months that followed had been a blur of police interviews, FBI investigations, private detectives, psychics, and false leads. Alexander had barely slept, barely eaten. He'd appeared on every news program, offered rewards that climbed into the millions, plastered Sophia's face across billboards nationwide. "Mr. Hunt, you need to consider that she might not." Detective Morrison had started to say, 1 month in. "Don't." Alexander had cut him off, his voice sharp as broken glass. "Don't say it. Don't even think it. She's alive. I would know if she wasn't. A father knows." But as weeks became months, even Alexander's iron certainty had begun to rust. The investigation had revealed disturbing possibilities. Claire, the nanny, had definitely been drugged, GHB in her system. The hotel's security footage showed a service worker entering their floor, face obscured by a cap, but the uniform had been stolen. The person had never been identified. The FBI's theory was trafficking, a word that made Alexander physically ill. His detectives had chased leads across 3 continents, raided suspected locations, but found nothing. Sophia had vanished as completely as if she'd never existed. Except she had existed, and Alexander's empty arms remembered her weight, his ears remembered her laugh, his heart remembered her love. The only person who seemed to take twisted satisfaction in Alexander's agony was Marcus Webb. His former business partner had officially offered condolences and assistance, but Alexander had seen the gleam in Marcus's eyes at the memorial service they'd held at 3 months, the one everyone insisted he have to begin healing. Alexander had built Hunt Technologies with Marcus 2 decades ago, when they were both hungry young engineers with big dreams. But as the company grew, their visions had diverged. Alexander wanted to change the world. Marcus wanted to own it. The split had been acrimonious, expensive, and ultimately left Alexander in control, while Marcus took a massive payout and harbored a massive grudge. "Karma is a fascinating thing," Marcus had said at the memorial, his smile sympathetic but his eyes cold. Sometimes the universe has a way of humbling us when we forget what really matters. Alexander had nearly struck him. Only the presence of mourners had stayed his hand. But from that moment, something in him knew. He couldn't prove it, had no evidence, but his gut screamed that Marcus was involved. He'd set his best investigator, a former FBI agent named Sarah Chun, on Marcus's trail. Follow the money, he told her. Follow every transaction, every phone call, every movement. If he's involved, I will find proof. But Marcus was careful, too careful. Sarah had found nothing concrete, just a series of cash withdrawals that could be explained away, a few trips to unmarked locations that could be innocent, and a lot of dead ends. Now, 3 months in, Alexander sat in his penthouse office overlooking Lake Michigan, staring at Sophia's photograph. She'd be a year old now, if she'd lived to see her birthday. She'd be taking her first steps, saying her first words, experiencing wonder at everything. I won't stop looking for you, he whispered to the photo, as he did every night. If you're out there, baby girl, Daddy will find you. I promise. His phone buzzed. Sarah Chun. His heart leapt. It always did, hoping this time there'd be news. Talk to me, he said. I've got something, Sarah said, and Alexander heard the excitement in her voice. Nothing concrete yet, but I've been monitoring street cameras near Riverside Park. That's about 3 miles from the peninsula. 3 months ago, the night of the gala, a camera caught someone matching our suspect's build leaving a dark sedan near the park. The car was registered to a shell company, which I traced back to another shell company, which is owned by Marcus. Alexander finished, his hand tightening on the phone. Can't prove it yet, but yes, likely. But here's the interesting part. That same night, approximately 2 hours later, a different camera caught a young woman hurrying through the park in the rain. She was alone going in, but coming out, she was carrying something wrapped in her coat. Could have been nothing. Could have been a bundle of clothes or a baby, Alexander said, his voice hoarse. I'm trying to identify her. But Alexander, even if we find her, even if she has Sophia, we need to be prepared for her. I'll prepare for nothing except bringing my daughter home, Alexander said. Find that woman. Now. For the first time in 3 months, Alexander felt something beyond despair. He felt hope, fragile and terrifying, but real. Somewhere in this city, his daughter might still be alive, and he would move heaven and earth to find her. Sarah Chun was one of the best investigators in the country, and Alexander had spared no expense in keeping her on retainer. At 52, she'd spent 25 years with the FBI before going private, and she had a clearance rate that was almost supernatural. If anyone could find Sophia, it was Sarah. She'd set up a command center in Alexander's penthouse, one entire room dedicated to the search. Walls covered in photos, maps, timelines, and strings connecting possible leads like a conspiracy theorist's fever dream. Except this was all too real. I've been working backward from that park camera footage, Sarah explained, pulling up images on her laptop. The woman was wearing a uniform, specifically, a housekeeping uniform from the Reynolds Hotel. That's 2 blocks from the peninsula. Alexander's pulse quickened. You're telling me someone who worked at the Reynolds might have found Sophia? Possibly. But here's where it gets complicated. The Reynolds employs over 200 people in housekeeping alone, and that uniform is generic enough that it could be from a dozen different hotels in the area. I've been cross-referencing work schedules from that night, looking for women who clocked out around the time our camera footage was captured. How many matches? Alexander asked. 47, Sarah admitted. But I can narrow it down. Based on her height, build, and the way she moved, I'd estimate mid to late 20s, probably under 5'6", physically fit. That drops us to 12 candidates. Then we interview 12 people, Alexander said immediately. Today, it's not that simple. If this woman did take Sophia, and I'm not saying she did, but if she did, approaching her directly could make her run. Or worse, she could have already handed the baby off to someone else. We need to be smart about this. Alexander ran his hands through his hair, a gesture that had become habitual in recent months. His hair, once dark and neatly styled, now showed streaks of gray at the temples. He'd lost weight too, his expensive suits hanging a little looser than they should. But his eyes, those fierce green eyes that Sophia had inherited, still burned with determination. What do you suggest? He asked. Surveillance first. I've got a team that can watch all 12 women discreetly. We're looking for signs of a baby, purchases, visitors, changes in routine. If one of them has Sophia, we'll find evidence. How long will that take? Could be days, could be weeks. But Alexander, Sarah met his eyes seriously. You need to prepare yourself. Even if we find Sophia, even if this woman has her, the baby might not remember you. 3 months is a lifetime to an infant. I don't care if she remembers me, Alexander said quietly. I remember her. That's enough. But it wasn't enough. Not really. Late at night, when sleep wouldn't come, which was most nights, Alexander tortured himself with questions. Would Sophia know him? Would she be afraid of him? Had she been hurt, neglected, traumatized? Or had she, by some miracle, ended up with someone kind? He found himself wondering about the woman from the park. Why had she taken a baby without reporting it? The possibilities range from trafficking to mental illness, to desperate poverty, to something he couldn't quite name, a sort of rescue that operated outside the law. I want to know everything about those 12 women, Alexander told Sarah. Not just work histories. I want to know their stories, their families, their financial situations, their character. Sarah nodded, understanding. You want to know if one of them is capable of kindness. I want to know if my daughter has been loved, Alexander said simply. Over the next week, Sarah's team worked their magic. They'd establish surveillance on all 12 candidates, documenting their movements, their purchases, their visitors. By day 5, they'd eliminated 8 of them. No signs of a child, and their routines remained unchanged from before that night in the park. That left 4 women. I'm going to show you something, Sarah said on day 6, pulling up footage on her laptop. This is Maya Johnson, 28, works at the Reynolds Hotel and housekeeping. She's been with them for 4 years, good employee record, keeps to herself. On the night in question, she clocked out at 9:45 p.m., about 30 minutes before a park camera caught the woman with a bundle. The video showed a young black woman with tired eyes and a kind face, her hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. She looked like someone who worked hard and asked for little in return. The week after that night, Maya called in sick for 5 days, unusual for her. She'd never taken more than 1 sick day before. Then she returned to work, but we've noticed something interesting. Sarah pulled up more footage, this time from a Walmart near Maya's apartment building. 3 days after the park incident, Maya was caught on security cameras purchasing baby supplies. Formula, diapers, baby clothes, all for an infant approximately 9 to 12 months old. Alexander's heart hammered, so hard he thought it might break through his chest. That's her. That's the woman who has Sophia. We can't be certain yet, Sarah cautioned. But I've had a team watching her building. Her apartment is on the 3rd floor, faces the alley. Yesterday, one of my team members managed to get a listening device near her window. She paused. Alexander, we heard a baby girl, based on the sounds. And we heard Maya talking to her, calling her Hope. Hope. His daughter was alive, and someone had given her a new name. Alexander didn't know whether to feel grateful or furious. I want to go there, he said. Now. No, Sarah said firmly. Not yet. We need to do this right. If you storm in there, best case scenario is Maya gets spooked and runs. Worst case, she's not working alone, and warning her puts Sophia in danger. We need to be strategic. Then what do you suggest? Alexander asked through gritted teeth. We need more proof that the baby is actually Sophia. I'm working on getting a closer look, maybe through a window or when Maya takes the baby out. If we can get a clear photo, we can confirm. Then we go to the police with everything. They get a warrant, and we do this legally. The police have done nothing for 3 months, Alexander said bitterly, because they had no leads. Now we have one. But Alexander, please, trust me on this. If that baby is Sophia, we will get her back. But we have to be smart. Alexander knew Sarah was right, but every instinct in him screamed to run to that apartment building, to climb those stairs, to take back what was his. Only the knowledge that acting rashly could endanger Sophia kept him in check. How long? He asked. 48 hours, Sarah promised. Give me 48 hours to get confirmation and set everything up properly. Then we bring your daughter home. Those 48 hours were the longest of Alexander's life. He couldn't work, couldn't eat, couldn't think about anything except Sophia. Was she healthy? Was she happy? Did this Maya woman treat her well, or was his daughter suffering? On the second night, unable to bear it anymore, Alexander did something foolish. He drove to Maya's apartment building, parked across the street in the darkness, and watched. He just needed to see, needed to know. At 11 p.m., a light came on in a third-floor window. Alexander's breath caught. Through the thin curtains, he saw a silhouette, a woman holding a child. She was rocking the baby, and even from this distance, Alexander could see the gentleness in her movements. Then the woman came closer to the window, and in the streetlight's glow, Alexander saw his daughter's face for the first time in 3 months. She'd grown, her features more defined, but those eyes, those unmistakable hazel-green eyes, were his. Were Elena's. Were Sophia's. His daughter was alive. Alexander's hands shook on the steering wheel as he watched Maya kiss Sophia's forehead and carry her away from the window, presumably to bed. The light went off, and Alexander sat in the darkness, tears streaming down his face. He pulled out his phone and called Sarah. "I'm in the building. I saw her. I saw Sophia. We're getting her tomorrow. I don't care about legal procedures anymore. That's my daughter, and she's coming home." There was a pause. Then Sarah said, "I'll make the arrangements. Tomorrow morning, we move." Maya woke before dawn, as she always did now, her internal clock attuned to Hope's needs even before the baby stirred. She lay in the gray morning light, watching the child sleep peacefully beside her, one tiny hand curled under her chin. These quiet moments before the day began had become precious to Maya, moments when she could pretend, just for a little while, that this was her life, that this child was hers to keep. But she knew it couldn't last. She'd known from the beginning. Maya had spent the previous evening composing an email, one she'd written and deleted a dozen times before finally saving a draft. Today, she decided, was the day she would send it. Today was the day she would give Hope back to her real father. The decision had become clear after weeks of watching Alexander hunt from afar. Maya had gone to his office building, had seen him through the windows, a shell of a man going through motions. She'd read every interview, watched every news clip, and what she'd seen had convinced her beyond doubt. This was a man who loved his daughter with every fiber of his being. This was a man who deserved to have his child back. More importantly, Hope deserved to have her father. She deserved the life she'd been born into, the opportunities that would come with being Sophia Hunt, the medical care and education and love that a billionaire father could provide. Maya loved Hope with all her heart, but love, real love, meant wanting what was best for the child, even when it broke you into pieces. She planned it all carefully. The email would include proof that she had Sophia, photos documenting the baby's health and care, and instructions for a meeting in a public place. She'd insist on being there when Hope was returned, to make sure the handoff went smoothly, to say goodbye properly. She expected to be arrested. She'd kidnapped a billionaire's daughter. After all, even if her intentions had been good, but she didn't care. Hope's safety was all that mattered. Hope stirred, her eyes blinking open, and when she saw Maya, her face lit up with the most beautiful smile. "Mama," she babbled, reaching up. Maya's heart shattered and healed in the same instant. "Good morning, sweet girl," she whispered, gathering Hope into her arms. "Let's get you breakfast." The morning routine was soothing in its normalcy. Warming milk, changing diapers, dressing Hope in one of the outfits Maya had carefully selected from the thrift store. Each action felt significant today, weighted with the knowledge that these were among the last times she'd do these things. "You're going to go home today," Maya told Hope as she fed her. "You're going to see your daddy, and he loves you so much. You won't remember me, but that's okay. I'll remember you for both of us." Hope reached up and patted Maya's face, seemingly sensing her distress. The gesture made Maya's tears fall freely. There was a knock at the door. Maya froze. She wasn't expecting anyone. Mrs. Chin never came by this early, and she hadn't ordered anything. A cold finger of fear traced down her spine. Could it be the police? Had someone reported her? The knock came again, more insistent. "Maya Johnson," a woman's voice called. "My name is Sarah Chun. I'm a private investigator. I need to speak with you about the child in your care. I know you have Sophia Hunt." Maya's blood turned to ice. This was wrong. She was supposed to control this moment, to turn Hope over on her own terms. "How did they find her?" "I'm not alone," Sarah's voice continued. Mr. Hunt is here with me, along with police officers. We have a warrant to enter if necessary, but I'm hoping we can do this peacefully. The only thing anyone wants is to ensure that the child is safe. Hope, sensing Maya's terror, began to cry. Maya held her close, her mind racing. She could run. There was a fire escape outside her window. But where would she go? And would running make everything worse? The truth was, she'd been preparing for this moment, even as she dreaded it. She kept meticulous records of Hope's care, had every receipt, every doctor's appointment. She'd taken Hope to a free clinic, using a false name, every milestone documented. She'd done nothing to harm this child. If anything, she'd saved her. Maya walked to the door, Hope clutched protectively in her arms, and opened it. A professional-looking Asian woman in her 50s stood there, flanked by 2 uniformed police officers. But Maya's eyes went immediately to the man standing slightly behind them, and she knew without being told that this was Alexander Hunt. He was tall, professionally dressed despite the early hour, but it was his face that captured Maya's attention. He looked like a man who'd been wandering in a desert and had just seen water, desperate, disbelieving, afraid to hope. His eyes, those same hazel-green eyes that Hope had inherited, were locked on the baby in Maya's arms. Sophia, he breathed, and the raw emotion in that single word nearly brought Maya to her knees. Hope turned at the sound of his voice, studying this stranger with curious eyes. She didn't reach for him. Why would she? She didn't know him. But she didn't seem afraid either. Mr. Hunt, Maya said, her voice surprisingly steady. I can explain everything. Are you Maya Johnson? One of the officers asked. Yes, sir. We have a warrant to search these premises and to take custody of the minor child identified as Sophia Hunt. We're also placing you under arrest for— Wait, Alexander said, his voice cutting through the officer's words. He stepped forward, his eyes never leaving Hope. Just wait, please. He looked at Maya, then really looked at her, and what he saw must have surprised him, because his expression shifted from fury to confusion. You took care of her, he said. It wasn't question. Yes, Maya said. I found her in Riverside Park 3 months ago. She was alone, cold, crying. I couldn't leave her there. I couldn't. You should have called the police, Sarah said, but her voice was gentle. I know, Maya said. I know I should have. But I was scared. Scared she'd get lost in the system. Scared of what had happened to her. Scared that whoever abandoned her might try again. I just wanted to make sure she was okay first, to figure out the truth. I was going to return her. Today, actually. I was going to email Mr. Hunt this morning. That's convenient timing, one officer said skeptically. It's the truth, Maya insisted. She looked at Alexander. You can see she's healthy. I have records of everything. What I've fed her, when she slept, even a visit to a free clinic to make sure she didn't have any injuries from whatever happened to her. I've loved her like my own, but I always knew she wasn't mine to keep. Alexander took another step forward. May I? He asked, his hands slightly extended. Maya looked down at Hope, then back at Alexander. This was it, the moment she'd been dreading and preparing for. Slowly, she held Hope out toward her father. Hope, sweetheart, Maya whispered. This is your daddy. He loves you so much. Alexander took his daughter into his arms, and the sound that came from him was somewhere between a laugh and a sob. Hope looked confused for a moment, then reached up and grabbed his nose, making him laugh through his tears. Hi, baby girl, he whispered. Hi, Sophia. Daddy's here. Daddy's finally here. Watching them together, seeing the instant connection despite the months apart, Maya felt something in her chest crack open. This was right. This was how it should be. But God, it hurt. Mr. Hunt, she said softly, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I didn't call right away. Sorry for the pain I've caused you. I just wanted her to be safe. Alexander looked up at her, hope cradled against his chest, and what Maya saw in his eyes wasn't the rage she'd expected. It was something far more complicated. You saved her, he said. That night in the park. Whoever left her there meant for her to die or disappear. You saved my daughter's life. I still broke the law, Maya said, her voice breaking. I understand that. Sir, we need to take her into custody, one of the officers said. No, Alexander said firmly. Not yet. I need to understand what happened. All of it. Sarah, can you give us a minute? Sarah looked like she wanted to argue, but something in Alexander's expression stopped her. 5 minutes, she said. Then we need to process everything officially. The officers and Sarah stepped back into the hallway, leaving Maya and Alexander alone with Hope, with Sophia. Tell me everything, Alexander said. From the beginning. Please. Maya told him everything, words pouring out in a flood. She couldn't stop. She told him about finding Hope, Sophia, in the park, about the fear and desperation in the baby's cries. She told him about the sleepless nights researching, about piecing together the connection to Marcus Webb, about the agonizing decision to keep silent while she tried to figure out if returning Sophia would put her in danger. I know how it sounds, Maya said. I know it looks like I stole your daughter. But I swear to you, Mr. Hunt, every decision I made was about keeping her safe. I was going to give her back today. I have an email drafted. I have all the records. You can check everything. Alexander listened, Sophia playing with his tie, occasionally looking at Maya with those trusting eyes. When Maya finished, silence filled the small apartment. Marcus Webb, Alexander finally said. You thought he was involved? I don't have proof, Maya said quickly. Just things that didn't add up. The timing, some articles I read about your business relationship, the way Sophia was abandoned but not hurt. It felt like someone wanted to break you, not to profit from her disappearance. That points to someone with a personal vendetta. Alexander's jaw tightened. Sarah has been investigating Marcus. We haven't found concrete evidence, but we suspect the same thing. I'm sorry I didn't come forward, Maya said again. I was trying to protect her, but I see now that I had no right to make that choice. She's your daughter. You deserve to know she was safe. You're right, Alexander said. I did deserve to know. These 3 months have been. He trailed off, unable to find words for that particular hell. But I'm also looking at my daughter, healthy and happy, and I'm looking at you, and I'm trying to reconcile the woman who technically kidnapped her with a woman who clearly loves her. I do love her, Maya whispered. I know I shouldn't. I know she was never mine. But I do. Sophia had started a fuss, reaching toward Maya. Mama, she said, and Maya's tears fell in earnest. She calls you Mama, Alexander said, something breaking in his voice. I'm sorry. I didn't teach her that. She just started saying a few weeks ago. I can help her understand, if you want. Help transition her back to you. Alexander studied Maya for a long moment. Then he did something that shocked her. He sat down on a threadbare couch, still holding Sophia, and gestured for Maya to sit beside him. My daughter was left to die in a park, he said quietly. Someone I trusted either directly harmed her or enabled someone else to harm her. She should be traumatized. She should be in a hospital somewhere, or worse. Instead, she's healthy and happy because a hotel maid with nothing to gain and everything to lose decided to take her home and care for her. I had everything to gain, Maya said softly. She gave me purpose. She gave me joy. She gave me love. I had everything to gain. They sat in silence, Sophia looking between them, as if trying to understand the complex emotions swirling around her. I should be furious with you, Alexander said. Part of me is. But the bigger part, the part that's holding my living, breathing daughter right now, instead of mourning her memory, is grateful. You saved her, Maya. Whatever else happened, whatever mistakes were made, you saved my daughter's life. What happens now? Maya asked. Before Alexander could answer, Sarah knocked and entered. Alexander, we need to make a decision. The officers are getting impatient, and we need to handle this properly. Alexander stood, still holding Sophia. Sarah, I want you to work with Maya to understand everything that happened. I want her suspicions about Marcus investigated thoroughly, and I want to know what evidence we have that could help clear Maya of wrongdoing. Clear me, Maya said, shocked. But You found an abandoned child and took her somewhere safe while trying to figure out the safest way to return her, Alexander said firmly. Those are the facts as I see them. Yes, you should have called the authorities immediately, but given the circumstances, I understand why you didn't. Mr. Hunt, one of the officers said from the doorway, we have procedures. I know, Alexander said, and we'll follow them. But I'm not pressing charges. Maya will cooperate fully with your investigation. Provide all her records, answer all questions. But I want it on record that this woman saved my daughter's life, and I will be eternally grateful to her. The next hours were a blur. Maya gave her statement, provided all her documentation, answered countless questions. Alexander's lawyers arrived, expensive suited men and women who handled everything with ruthless efficiency. Maya expected to be arrested anyway, but Alexander was true to his word. He insisted that she'd acted to protect Sophia, and while there were legal complications to sort out, she was released with a promise to appear for further questioning. Through it all, Sophia cried. She didn't understand what was happening, didn't understand why she was suddenly surrounded by strangers, didn't understand why Maya kept crying. She reached for Maya repeatedly, calling Mama, breaking everyone's hearts. Finally, as evening approached and they were preparing to leave the police station, Alexander approached Maya. "I need to ask you something," he said. "And before you answer, know that you're under no obligation, and whatever you decide, I'll respect it." "Okay," Maya said cautiously. "Sophia knows you, trusts you, loves you. I'm her father, but I'm a stranger to her right now. Transitioning her away from the only caregiver she's known for 3 months is going to be traumatic for her." Maya's heart sank. She knew what was coming and didn't know if she could bear it. "Would you consider—" Alexander paused, choosing his words carefully. "Would you consider helping with the transition? Not permanently, of course, but maybe staying involved for a few weeks while Sophia adjusts to being home? I have a large house with plenty of room for a guest. You'd be compensated, of course, and—" "You don't have to pay me," Maya interrupted. "If it's better for Hope, for Sophia, then I'll help. However long she needs." Relief flooded Alexander's face. Thank you, Maya." And so Maya found herself, 3 days later, in a guest room in Alexander Hunt's mansion in Winnetka. The room was larger than her entire apartment, with an attached bathroom that had heated floors and a shower with 6 different settings. It was surreal and uncomfortable and wonderful all at once. But the important thing was Sophia. Over the following days, Maya watched as Alexander slowly, patiently, won his daughter's trust back. He was a natural father, gentle, attentive, instinctively understanding what Sophia needed. He didn't rush it, didn't try to force her to forget Maya. Instead, he created space for both of them in Sophia's life. "You're good at this," Maya told him one evening. They were sitting in the nursery, a room that had been kept exactly as it was the day Sophia disappeared, watching the baby play with blocks. "I've been practicing in my head for 3 months, Alexander admitted. Every possible scenario, every way to reconnect with her. I never imagined it would involve her other mother being here too." "I'm not her mother," Maya said quickly. "Aren't you?" Alexander asked gently. "You cared for her for 3 months. You loved her. You would have faced criminal charges rather than let her be hurt. That sounds like a mother to me." Maya didn't know how to respond to that. Over the past few days, she'd come to know Alexander Hunt beyond the billionaire facade. He was kind, genuinely kind, not in the performative way of people who wanted something, but in a bone-deep way that showed in every interaction. He was generous with his household staff, patient with Sophia, and surprisingly easy to talk to. "What will you do?" Alexander asked. "After Sophia adjusts and you leave here, will you go back to the Reynolds?" "I suppose," Maya said, though the thought of returning to her old life felt hollow now. "I need to work. I have bills, a mother to support." "I'd like to offer you something," Alexander said. "A position in my company. Not housekeeping, though there's no shame in that work. But Sarah tells me you did remarkable detective work figuring out the Marcus Webb connection. I could use someone with those instincts and that dedication in my security division." Maya stared at him. "Are you serious?" "Completely. The job is yours if you want it. Good salary, benefits, training. You be protecting people, helping keep them safe. It seems fitting, given that's what you did for Sophia." "I don't know what to say," Maya breathed. "Say you'll think about it," Alexander suggested. Over the next 2 weeks, Maya watched Sophia slowly transfer her primary attachment to Alexander. It hurt, watching the baby reach for him first, seeing her face light up when he entered the room, knowing that she was becoming Daddy's girl instead of Mama's girl. But it was right. This was Sophia's real life, and Maya had just been an interlude. But something else was happening too, something Maya hadn't expected. She and Alexander were becoming friends. They spent evenings talking after Sophia went to bed, sharing stories about their lives. Maya learned about Elena, Alexander's late wife, and how her death had nearly destroyed him before Sophia's smile brought him back. Alexander learned about Maya's childhood in Mississippi, about her father's early death, about the dreams she'd had to defer to survive. "You could go back to school," Alexander said one night. "If you take the job I offered, we have tuition assistance. You could finish your degree." "I started college," Maya admitted. "Psychology. I want to work with kids, help the ones who fell through the cracks. But my dad got sick, and then he died, and there was no money." "You still could," Alexander said. "The world needs people like you, Maya. People who see someone in need and run toward them instead of away." On the 3-week mark, Maya knew it was time. Sophia called Alexander Dada now and only reached for Maya when she was very tired or upset. The transition was complete, or as complete as it would ever be. "I should go," Maya said one evening. "Are you sure?" Alexander asked. "You're welcome to stay as long as you like." "I'm sure," Maya said. "She doesn't need me anymore." That was always the plan. Make sure she didn't need me. "What about what you need?" Alexander asked quietly. Maya smiled sadly. "I need to know she's okay." "And she is. You've given her everything she needs." "Not everything," Alexander said. He seemed to be wrestling with something. "Maya, these past weeks, having you here, watching you with Sophia, talking with you, I've realized something. Sophia isn't the only one who needs you." Maya's heart skipped. "Mr. Hunt." "Alexander," he corrected. "Please." "Alexander, I can't. We can't. I'm the woman who technically kidnapped your daughter. That's not exactly the foundation for a relationship." "You're the woman who saved my daughter," Alexander corrected. "You're the woman who showed me what selfless love looks like. You're the woman who makes my daughter laugh and makes me remember how to hope." He paused. "I'm not saying we rush into anything. I'm not even saying we call it dating. But I am saying I'd like you to stay. Not as an employee, not as a nanny, but as part of our family. However that looks." Maya felt tears streaming down her face. "I love her so much. And she couldn't finish the sentence, but she didn't have to. "I know," Alexander said softly. "I love her too. And I think I'm starting to love you." "Is that completely insane?" "Completely," Maya agreed. "But then again, this whole situation is insane." That night, Maya stayed. 5 years later. "Mommy, Mama Maya, come see what Daddy built." Maya smiled as 6-year-old Sophia ran into the kitchen, her hazel green eyes sparkling with excitement. The child had grown into a beautiful little girl, bright and curious and loved beyond measure. "What did Daddy build this time?" Maya asked, knowing Alexander's weekend projects were legendary. "A castle. A real castle in the backyard. Well, kind of real. It has towers and everything." Maya followed Sophia outside, where Alexander was putting finishing touches on an elaborate wooden playhouse that did, indeed, resemble a castle. He looked up as they approached, his face lighting up. "What do you think?" he asked. "I think you're spoiling her," Maya said, but she was smiling. "Good," Alexander said, pulling Maya close for a kiss. "She deserves to be spoiled. You both do." They'd married 2 years ago, a small ceremony with Sophia as the flower girl. Sarah Chun had been Maya's maid of honor, having become a close friend. Marcus Webb was in prison, convicted of conspiracy to kidnap after Sarah had finally found evidence linking him to the plot. The nanny, Claire, had been an unknowing pawn, drugged and used, and had testified against him. Maya had gone back to school and finished her psychology degree. She now ran a nonprofit Alexander had helped her establish, one that helped children in crisis situations, providing immediate safe housing and support while permanent solutions were found. It was her way of honoring what she'd done for Sophia, of turning that impossible situation into something that could help other children. "I have something to tell you both," Maya said, placing her hand on her stomach. Alexander's eyes widened. "Are you?" Maya nodded, tears of joy streaming down her face. "Sophia is going to be a big sister." Sophia shrieked with delight, jumping up and down. Alexander pulled both of them into a hug, and in that moment, surrounded by the family she'd found in the most unlikely way, Maya knew that love really did find the right path. Sometimes it just took a more circuitous route than anyone expected. And as she watched Alexander chase Sophia around the castle playhouse, their laughter filling the air, Maya silently thanked the universe for that rainy night in Riverside Park. The night that had brought them all together. The night that had taught her the true meaning of love, sacrifice, and family. Because family wasn't just about biology. It was about showing up, even when it was hard. It was about loving someone enough to let them go, and loving them even more when they chose to stay. It was about a scared young woman finding a baby in a park, and a broken man finding hope in the most unexpected place. It was about all of them finding each other.